All right, what's up, guys? So we are here in Tulum for another couple weeks before heading back to New York, but I'm running a half marathon tomorrow and I didn't sign up officially on the site, so I'll see if I get in trouble or not in the actual lane while running the marathon, or if I get caught, I'll just run my own pace and I'll make my own route, okay? But I want to talk to you guys about a couple things, or one thing that's really limiting the growth of your agency and limited the growth of my agency for the last couple months, and there's two parts. There's known unknowns, and these known unknowns are essentially things like, hey, I know I need to be closing at a higher percentage. I'm not closing as much as I like. Okay, let's fix this. Let's invest into some sales training. Let's buy a course or whatever it might be. Hey, my show up rate for my prospects on sales calls is pretty shit. How can I increase this? These are things that you're pretty familiar with, that you have an idea of, but then there are unknown unknowns. And these are the things that actually are going to kill your company. And life is binary. You're either growing or you're dying. There is no staying the same. If you stop working out, you're not going to stay the same strength. Over the course of 6 months to a year, you're just going to become flabby and fat and go back to your old habits, right? Same thing if you learn a language. If you learn a language for 3, 4, 5 months straight, like for example, I learned French for 5 months straight, and then two years later, I still speak conversational French, but it's not as much as if I continued staying with it. And so the unknown unknowns are going to kill your business. And one of the ways, which is pretty difficult because it's like, you don't know what you don't know, right? But one of the ways you kind of go about finding these things is just simply be a student of markets. For example, I invested into another 5-figure mentorship just recently, only 5 days ago. And immediately, guys, there were things that basically caught my attention, nurtured me, allowed the entire selling process for me to be sold so much easier in the email and SMS and looking at the funnels and all the automations, and just immediately so many things clicked right away. And I was like, holy crap, I haven't been doing this to my prospects. And that's why potentially, or most likely, I haven't been able to sell as much. My prospects haven't been able to show up to the sales calls as much. And there are just so many small things, guys, that just ruin the growth of your company if you just are simply unaware. And yes, the person that's going to be in the game the longest is going to get the most out. And it is a game of just simply time in. Hence, the person that loves walking is going to beat the person that loves the destination. And as you're along this destination and along the journey, you're going to learn as much as possible, and you're going to kind of discover these unknown unknowns. But invest into courses, invest into mentorships. The people that say these course sellers are scammers, those people are idiots. Now, yes, there are exceptions. Yes, some people are selling terrible info products. But even if you just take one thing away, 2 things away, some golden nuggets, it's still a win on your end as long as you actually implement the information that you're being taught. And so going back to the unknown unknowns, these are things that are going to kill your company. A, be a student of markets. Never, ever, ever stop learning. And this isn't just my advice. This is advice from people who are at the top echelons of the status game in any business field, in any niche. All the entrepreneurs, they just say, become a student of market. Luke Belmore says this. Oftentimes Luke is kind of just preaching what he thinks as universal truths. And he's like, some of the things that he says are like, like 50 to 60, 70% of what he says on podcast and on his live streams. He says it's typically just like universal truths, and that he's just portraying it through his own experience. And so it's a really cool and unique thing because, like, as I continue to learn from some of the greats in our space and just read old books, read great men and learn, then the advice is kind of similar. It's all similar. And as you kind of like read and learn and listen, you can piece things together. And you're like, okay, if 8 different people from 8 different walks of life who are at the top echelons of society are saying the exact same thing, do we think it's a winning habit? Of course. And so one of those, like I was just saying, is become a student of markets. Invest into courses, mentorships, programs, whatever it is. You're either going to be paying with time or money. And time, guys, we can never, ever get back time. I said to myself after making this investment, my biggest regret is not buying this course sooner. That's the truth. Why did I put this off? I put money towards traveling and other things, but I just never, and my mind was elsewhere, right? But like, one of my biggest regrets is just not buying this course sooner, not buying other things sooner as well, because we're either paying with time or money. And so money is always going to come back. You can always make more of it. That's entirely fine. You can go broke as long as you actually invest into yourself. Like I say all the time, the S&P Me 500, not the S&P 500. Okay? And so discovering these unknown unknowns are going to kill your business. It's extremely hard to kind of give advice on this, but what I will say, and like I've been saying, buy courses, become a student of markets, learn from everyone, speak to as many people as you can. Everybody's worth a cup of coffee, especially if you are in the beginning of your agency and you're kind of just brand new to this game. You need to learn from everyone. And so like, you have to get out of your comfort zone as well. Like if you're a little introverted and you don't want to reach out to people, that's not going to serve you. It's not going to serve you at all. You need to speak to people. You need to become absolutely obsessed with your product, with your service, with what you're doing. And as you kind of go along this journey of just being obsessed with what you're doing, you're going to then attract the right opportunities, attract the right information, attract the right things that are going to allow you to progress in most domains. And especially if you are in the SMMA space, which is an incredible beginner vehicle to learn in, because we're learning about sales, we're learning about media buying, we're learning about how to build a team, we're learning about client success, we're learning about client retention, we're learning about how to build culture, how to create a vision, how to actually understand data and tracking and information. SMMA is the best beginner vehicle, biased because I'm in it, obviously, but coming full circle, the unknown unknowns are going to kill you. My advice throughout this entire video: invest your money or pay with your time, because the truth is there's an ignorant tax to what we do and to what we don't do. I paid an ignorance tax for not investing into this 5-figure mentorship program sooner. It cost me probably tens of thousands of, no, not probably, it did. It cost me tens of thousands of dollars by waiting. And it's kind of like what we do on our sales calls with prospects, guys. It's defining the cost of inaction. If the prospect doesn't understand urgency and has any kind of oomph to kind of get things going right now, it's like, okay, so what happens if we continue letting these habits guide the way our life is? Well, you're not going to be getting the lead flow that you want. You're not going to be getting the jobs that you want. And then you kind of define the numbers. How much money are you losing? Are you okay with losing this amount of money? Put them into binary persona. But you have to do it with yourself as well. And you have to sell like you buy. And so the sales call for me for that investment was pretty easy. There was a slight bit of hesitation for sure, because any sort of change is uncomfortable, but that's completely normal. And I was like, fuck it, let's do it. And so it was the best investment I've made to date. And again, I wish I'd done it sooner, because there are unknown unknowns that just destroyed my company and essentially made me lose tens of thousands of dollars. But that's that. And so moving forward, I kind of hope you guys take something with value from this, and that don't listen to people for the most part. Do what you want, and it's going to work out so long you stick the path.